Hey, it's Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guests this segment are from, I'm going to get this right, McDermott Counseling. Right, ladies? McDermott Counseling?
That's right.
See, I knew I couldn't remember it, but I had it written down because that helps me. And we all, particularly when we get to be a little bit older, need those things to kind of help us out cognitively because gray matter kind of, okay? But that's where counseling comes in, at least for some of us older folks. But it also works, it works for younger people too, I've heard, in all sorts of different ways. And you're involved with that.
Yes.
And you are Rachel? Welcome
I'm Rachel.
to the show.
Nice to meet you.
And you are?
Diane.
Diane, welcome to the show. Let's talk about McDermott Counseling.
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, there are 8 therapists. Diane is one of them. She's
Okay.
also a registered nurse.
Okay.
So we have people that specialize in all different areas. So we have somebody that works with kids that are on the spectrum. We have a few therapists that do couples, work specifically with couples. We have people that work with anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. I do actually EMDR, and Diane
Does reconsolidation.
Okay, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
But before we get into that, one of the things we talked about before we went on camera is that you have 8 counselors working for
Yes.
you. And you're going to be expanding.
Yes.
You're in Visalia, and you're going to
be opening an office in Lemoore.
in Lemoore, right there by the military base. Oh, no, we're not going to go there. As a vet, I got to support my guys, right? No, but anyway.
Absolutely.
The thing is that people often assume that it's kind of a one pill takes care of all mental, psychological disorders. And if you can find that one pill, that one counselor doesn't make any difference, then you're good to go. But it doesn't work that way.
No.
Not only different diagnoses respond better to certain specific types of counseling, being able, to diagnose that in the individual, provide that for them. Because drugs isn't really the way to go, is it, for most people? I know there's a certain,
There's a place for
place, but
Yes.
for most people, being able to get by in life, being able to experience life in a healthy, I'm talking about psychologically healthy way, is something that they really have power over, but they're like in the middle of the jungle lost. There's no pathway for them, And I'm kind of paraphrasing or whatever, but, that's where counseling comes in. You provide that map, and depending on what part of the jungle they're lost in, depends on what kind of counseling they need. So let's talk about what you do.
Well, I do couples therapy, but I also have been trained to do EMDR, which
Okay.
stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And so it's a newer, well, it's not new, but it's recently been demonstrated to be the most effective treatment for treating post-traumatic stress disorder. And
Stop. I'm going to
Yes.
stop you right there, Rachel,
Okay.
because although I'm a vet and PTSD is big in the vet world, people don't understand that it extends far beyond those that have been involved in military combat.
absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
And so, just because you're, someone that is part of society you grew up in, you don't make that connection. You go in and you're properly diagnosed with PTSD, makes a big difference.
It
doesn't
does. It does. A lot of people think, well, that wasn't traumatic enough to give me PTSD, but yes, it was. Could be anything from just you only have to have a fear of the threat of the integrity of your person. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have been in war and seen somebody next to you shot. It just means in a flash of a moment, like you had that fear that your life was over or somebody you loved's life was over.
And fear is a very powerful, it's, we think of it as an emotion, but it's much more than that. We're actually neurologically hardwired for fear.
Yes.
And, again, that's one thing people don't realize. There are ways that we can become the master instead of the servant to our fear. And what you do is one of those ways.
Yes.
But let's talk about what you do.
So I'm a registered nurse,
Right.
and I treat my patients holistically. I'm always concerned about their nutrition, because if you don't feel good in your body, you can't feel good mentally.
You mean my sugar diet 24/7 is not going to help me,
It
with
is
my condition?
Absolutely
No?
not.
Oh, I'm heartbroken. Okay. But no, good nutrition has
Good
a very
nutrition.
powerful effect on the body. Absolutely.
Exercise, sleep, but also the way we think and the way we feel. Trauma, as Rachel said, most of us have some form of trauma that we've lived with, and dealing with that, I use a little different type of therapy. It's based on the neuroplasticity of the brain. That
For our people watching, the neuroplasticity of the brain is the ability of the brain to actually rewire
Yes.
connections.
Yes.
Okay.
And at the right moment, some of those traumatic memories can be re-imaged and change the memory completely and totally transform the way a person's life is experienced as a result of that.
And it can free them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an amazing thing to watch happen.
You know, being bound psychologically into I'll just call a dark state, whatever that is,
Right.
is essentially a psychological metaphor for physically being in jail, in prison.
Yes.
Okay? And there's no light, it's dark. There's no help. It's loneliness. There's no happiness. They're there. Now, that may be the most bleak way of putting it, but there is a spectrum between being healthy, happy, holistically alive, and that state. And people sometimes, they gradually descend into this, and all of a sudden one day they wake up, and life's tough. And in today's world, with all this stuff going on in the world, in all sorts of ways, even my generation, I'm not going to tell you what, but my generation, dealing with tech, for example, technology, everybody's doing this and they got this and I don't understand it and I'm not, and all that stuff. People don't realize. So, you have 8 counselors. You're
Yes.
going to expand it to Lemoore. How long have you been there?
Oh my gosh, over 15 years in Visalia in private practice.
Yeah?
I started off just me by myself, and then
And you grew.
Yeah, we've grown.
And you grew and you grew.
Grew and grew.
Yeah, sorry you're doing things right, huh? Yeah, that's great.
Well, we wanted to have a well-rounded practice, so we have like a therapist that does works with the LGBTQ community,
Right.
and we have a therapist for everything you could really think of. That
Including eating disorders.
yes, we have.
Oh, we're not going to go there. No.
You'd have to quit the sugar.
No, but it's amazing how many different ways we can, in our minds, mess our life up. When we're not, it's like we're the captain of the ship without a rudder, and we're spinning that thing, and we don't know, but we don't know that we don't know oftentimes. So when we're talking now to people that are out there that are going, well, that, counseling, that's for other people. And a lot of people say that. That's for other, it's not for, I don't, yeah, I got, it's no big thing, right? What are the things, Rachel, that people should be aware of in their life that may be a sign, here's your sign that maybe you want to reach out, and can they come in and, have like an initial consultation to find out if they kind of fit the...
Well, sure. Actually, what we ask people to do is go on our website, McDermottCounseling.com, and
Okay.
read the bios of all the different therapists,
Okay.
and then you could find one that touches you and what your needs are and what your concerns are. But in addition to that, we have people that don't have an issue in their life. They just want to become more reflective, more insightful, and just to learn and grow.
So you tell me healthy, happy people like
Happy
me
people
can...
go to therapy. Yeah. In
Really?
fact, in our graduate program, they required us to do, I can't remember how many it was so long ago. I think it was 10 or 20 hours of individual psychotherapy ourselves, all of the students. And so it was just such an amazing experience to go and you just learn and grow about yourself. And
So if it's good, it can be super good, huh?
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So you don't need to have something wrong with you to go to therapy.
Oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Talking to people today, okay, when are you going to be opening up in Lemoore?
Within the next 6 months.
Within the next 6
Probably
months.
the next 3 months.
Okay. And they're going to find that information out on your webpage?
Yes, and our Instagram.
Okay. What's your webpage?
McDermottCounseling.com.
Okay. And your Instagram's the same thing?
It's at McDermott Counseling.
At McDermott's.
Yeah.
Do you do a Facebook thing?
I think we do too, but
Yeah,
my
okay.
office manager's in charge of all that.
Ah, there
Sorry.
you go. Yeah. Well, like I say, I got a 10-year-old grandson. He's in charge of all that. So I
I don't do
understand.
any of it.
Anything else you'd like to share before we end this segment today, ladies? I mean, listen. You've been good sports, but you've shared some good information. You provide a great service down in Visalia, and you're going to be moving into in Lemoore, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Once you come back, we'll talk about it more. Maybe we'll talk about specifics. Put out some information for people that will maybe get a little bit deeper in PTSD or borderline personality disorder. What that means both to the person suffering, the person that's
We
with
have somebody that deals with that too.
and that's a real hard deal for people to get
Yes,
through.
it is.
But it's not real well known. So we'll talk about some of those things.
Yes.
Anything you'd like to share before we close?
Well, if you would like to call our office at 280-5756, we can find out if your insurance covers it. A lot of times, like if you're a school teacher in our area, it covers 100% of your counseling, no matter how much you need. It's a stressful job. They
it's
really
tough,
do.
yeah.
It's tough, especially with all the testing and the things that people are, the administration.
So,
puts
Rachel, you're
in
telling me
their
that
plate.
stress can have an effect on us mentally. Huh?
Yes, definitely.
I've heard that rumor.
Yes.
All right, ladies, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Did we cover everything you wanted to get out today?
Yes.
Good.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Good deal.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And I'm
You too,
coronavirus positive, so no.
Wonderful.
Joke. All right. No, listen. It's one of those stressors in the world today. Be prepared. And I'll see you when we come back.